Welcome to EVTN News, your source for the breaking news that we have. I don't really have any breaking news. You've seen it probably, but I'm going to talk about a lot of this stuff. So the first story here is the Archbishop of Cincinnati, Bishop Dennis Schnurr, Archbishop Dennis Schnurr. He has sort of banned. Not really. He didn't ban it. He didn't ban ad orientem liturgies, but he restricted it, so it's pretty much banned. So he released this statement on December 21st. Eric Sammons talked about this a little bit. So this is your Reverent Novus Ordo. I've been pretty consistent on this channel in saying that if you even can consider the Novus Ordo Reverent, um, that's up for debate. But your basic requirement in order to have a Reverent Novus Ordo, it has to be ad orientem. That's the only way you can even claim to have a Reverent Novus Ordo. So he said, um, he quotes the general instruction of the Roman Missal or the Germ. He talks about a freestanding altar, which is, whatever, and said that the altar should be built separate from the wall in such a way that it is possible to walk around it easily, and that Mass can be celebrated at it facing the people, which is desirable whenever possible. So it's really just kind of like whatever interpretation you have. Like, how does it feel? How does it make you feel? How does this instruction make you feel? It's not about like logic or consistency with the Catholic faith or the practice that has been in place for centuries. He said, since the celebration of the Mass versus populum facing the people is desirable whenever possible, this should be the regular practice in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, nearly all of which have a freestanding altar. Now, to me, a high altar is great, against the wall is great. If you have a freestanding altar, the priest can incense the whole way around the altar at the Latin Mass. So I'm not necessarily like completely opposed to that, and maybe that's a little bit of my Eastern a little bit of my Eastern sympathies, where in the Eastern rites, like Byzantines, they have a freestanding altar, and it does give the priest the opportunity to incense around the altar, but it's still like an ad orientem type of liturgy. Like they face the people when they're reading, but then whenever it gets to the canon, I don't know if you call it the canon. I'm sure they have some kind of Greek term for it, and I'm not familiar with all that stuff. But whenever they get to the Sanctus, which would be the holy, 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 I'm not sure what it is in Greek. Whenever they get to that part, they're facing the altar because the iconostasis separates the priests and the people in the Eastern Rite. But anyway, that got very much off track. He said when a freestanding altar is present, let's see how much of this we have. On Sundays and, let's see, the following norms to be observed. On Sundays and other days of obligation, there must be at least one Mass offered versus populum in every church in which public Mass is scheduled. On other days when public Mass is celebrated, there must be at least one Mass offered publicly versus populum in each family of parishes. That's rotten and compromised. So if a priest wants to celebrate ad orientem Mass, he's got to celebrate two Masses, one of which is facing the people. Permission for exemptions may be sought in writing. The chancery must be informed in writing in advance of implementing a parish Mass schedule, which includes Masses regularly celebrated ad orientem. In regards to other Masses, the priest should consider the pastoral needs of the families, guests, and others participating. Okay. That sounds pretty ridiculous. Okay, altar, and it quotes the Germ. Okay. The following norms should be observed. When a freestanding altar is present, the celebration of Mass whether versus popum or ad orientem may take place only at said altar, not on the older high altar. Okay, so I think what the germ said, um, the freestanding altar, yeah, okay. Let me just read the whole thing. In building new churches, it is preferable for a single altar to be erected, one that in the gathering of the faithful will signify the one Christ and one Eucharist of the church. Well, that would be the traditional altars against the wall. In already existing churches, however, when the old altar is so positioned that it makes the people's participation difficult but cannot be moved without damage to artistic value, another fixed altar, skillfully made and properly dedicated, should be erected and the sacred rites celebrated on it alone. Wow, modernism. And in more than one way, right? Because they talk about modernist architecture. So this is modernist architecture and modernist theology, modernist liturgy. In order that the attention of the faithful may not be directed from the new altar, the old altar should not be decorated in any special way. This is quoted from the germ. So are you in communion with this? Are you in communion with this modernist idea of the liturgy? All right, so it said the freestanding altar, when a freestanding altar is present, the celebration of Mass may take place only on the altar. So you have a beautiful high altar, and then they set up this folding table so that the priest can face the people, and so you can only say Mass on that altar. If the freestanding altar is dedicated but not fixed and thus movable, a folding table, it may not be moved from the sanctuary for the purpose of using the older altar. All right, so any permanent changes to the arrangement of a church, oratory, or chapel are subject to the archdiocesan policy on renovating and reconfiguring the church. And they have to be approved. All right. So this bishop, he doesn't seem like he's evil like some of the bishops. It doesn't seem like he's evil like some of the bishops that we know. He hasn't been on the wrong side of things consistently. But this leads me to speculate. Now, this is just speculation. This is John the Son of Thunder. This isn't, I'm not a prophet. What did Father Gregory Hess, he said, honey, I ain't no prophet. Same here. But I speculate that this was prompted by the Vatican. Why would a bishop go out of his way to crack down on a few priests who are saying reverent liturgy? They're saying your reverent Novus Ordos. Is it because someone called into the chancery and complained, I can't see the priest's face 100% of the time? Is that really the reason? I suspect this actually confirms to me. I suspect that when the Latin Mass crackdowns do come, that it's not just going to be the Latin Mass that's cracked down on. Because people say, oh, well, if the Latin Mass goes away, I'll just go to a Reverent Novus. No, you won't have a Reverent Novus Ordo. These are the changes that are going to take place. You're not going to have a Reverent Novus Ordo, if that even exists. You're going to have to see the priest's smiling face. Hello, everyone. Did you watch sports this weekend? It's a nice day today. Go outside and enjoy your time. I'm going to have a short homily so that you guys can get out of here quickly and watch the game, the playoff games. All right. So that's that. What do you guys think? Let me know. Pray for Cardinal Pell's soul. Cardinal Pell died this past week. He was accused of molesting, and he was he was found not guilty. A lot of people still believe he's guilty. I don't know if they have any reason behind that, or just his name is associated with that. He was said to be on the conservative side of things, and we're finding out more and more information about that. So, Cardinal Pell said in an interview that was released, I think on the day of his death, that he said the Latin Mass every single day. Wow. Okay. And Gloria TV says, an insider told Gloria TV about the death of Cardinal Pell. He said, I strongly believe he was murdered. Pell died on the same day as his surgery. Apparently, he was talking after surgery to the anesthesiologist before he suffered a cardiac arrest. The operation was elective, which was pre-planned, so he would have had a thorough risk assessment and was considered fit for surgery. An 81-year-old man will have 10 more years maximum on his legs, so why have a hip replacement now? The insider asks. He also had high blood pressure and diabetes, but was otherwise in good shape. Ooh. So it doesn't seem like that's great for surgery. For the insider, something is very odd about it all because often post-operative complications occur a few days on, such as sepsis or blood clot, while peri-operative, which means before, during, and after an operation, complications often occur during surgery or due to anesthesia. So there's speculation there. I don't know. Cardinal Pell, if he had information, he should have released it, but he actually apparently did. He didn't release. Well, I don't know that he had any insider information. I'll just say that. If he did, I stand by that. He should have released it. But he did. He was the one behind the anti-Francis memo from March of 2022, less than a year ago. Vatican insider Sandro Magister revealed that Cardinal Pell had been the author of the Demos Memorandum, a document that was circulated among the College of Cardinals in March 2022. The media, especially guys like Ed Penton, made a really big deal about this. Ooh, Cardinals are unhappy about Pope Francis. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, why don't you do something about it, right? You're Cardinals. But writing under the pseudonym Demos, which means the people in Greek, Cardinal Pell detailed what he viewed as the failures of the current Vatican leadership and laid out the criteria he thought the next conclave should prioritize. So now we get like an unfiltered, this was an anonymous on this show, and I said, well, I mean, if it is a cardinal, then, you know, do something about it, please. But anyway, what he said was commentators from every school, albeit for different reasons, with the possible exception of Father Spadaro, S.J., agree that this pontificate is a disaster, in many or more respects, a catastrophe. He then goes on to recall the task of the successor, Peter, is to be a unifier, preserve the apostolic tradition, and uphold the church's teaching, a task that the memo asserts is not being accomplished at this time. Yeah, no surprise. Demos, which is Cardinal Pell, then lists the times the Pope was silent in the face of evils in the church, including in response to the German synodal way, thus promoting LMNOP and women priests, and what the author describes as explicitly heretical statements by Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, shocker, the Relator General of the Global Synod on Synodality, rejecting the Church's teaching on sexuality. The memorandum to formally correct Cardinal Hollerich, something Pell also publicly urged on the same day Magister published the memorandum last March, so he kind of timed it and then urged for a public correction. He said, the silence is emphasized when contrasted with the active persecution of the traditionalists and contemplative convents, a reference to severe restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass issued in 2021, and harsh regulations imposed on women contemplative religious. There's only a few of those, so this is interesting. But we see that Cardinal Pell, maybe he didn't want to attach his name to this because of his past history, what he had overcome. So I can see that. Okay, a few things about the fallout from Pope Benedict's death. Archbishop Ganswein, the longtime personal secretary of Pope Benedict, met with Pope Francis on last Monday, The meeting took place shortly before the public release of Archbishop Gansweine's forthcoming book, detailing his nearly 20 years of service to Benedict. And when that book is released, and if there's anything significant, I will talk about that, but I'm sure all the commentators will talk about it before I will. I'm not concerned about that because I'm not sure all of it will be accurate or honest. According to a preview of the text published by Reuters, the book includes details about the German Pope's alleged disagreements with his Argentinian successor over matters such as France's restriction of the Latin Mass and his statements regarding moral matters such as the slaughter of the unborn and LMNOP. Archbishop Ganswein must vacate the Mater Ecclesiae monastery where he cared for Benedict as early as February 1st. This date was communicated to Ganswein on the day of Benedict's funeral in a letter signed by Francis. On paper, Ganswein is still the prefect of the papal household. He was de facto dismissed by Francis in 2020, which was a further punch in the stomach for Benedict, and so he's kicked out. He was told to shut up and get out. So, does he have any information? Does he know anything? He's probably still on Vatican payroll, and so he will probably shut up and get out and be paid for, or be paid handsomely for doing that. Would you do that? If you were in his situation and you were receiving a nice paycheck, would you go home and watch YouTube videos and that's it? Or would you run your mouth and risk, whatever risk there is? Ask John Paul I. Anyway, synodal news. There will be a Christian interfaith event in September. Pope Francis invited the faithful of all Christian denominations to Rome for an ecumenical prayer vigil. We can learn from them, right? We can learn from the heretics. Yeah. All right, the big news. The big news you've all been waiting for. Are there Latin Mass restrictions upcoming? This is a rumor. I don't talk a lot about rumors, but it seems like there's some truth to the stuff that's happening, right? Bishops are banning the Latin Mass. It's not just one, it's a bunch. They're cracking down on the Latin Mass. Why are they doing that now? A lot of people speculate that the Vatican has told them to do that in anticipation of new restrictions. There are indications that Francis is preparing a new apostolic constitution because he is dissatisfied with the slow implementation of Traditionis Custodes. So the bishops, they want to keep the Latin Masses open because a lot of people are going there. Francis doesn't. He wants it shut down. So the bishops are kind of dragging their feet because they know they'll have a lot of angry people, because a lot of the people that go to the Latin Mass are the ones that believe in the Catholic faith. And they're the future of every diocese. If the diocese wants to keep them in the diocese. If they go SSPX, sorry. These are the people where these are the families where the vocations come from. Their vocations, they're going to be going elsewhere. Francis chose the form of an apostolic constitution to echo Paul VI's Constitution Missale Romanum 1969 in order to emphasize the equal status of the two constitutions. Oh, that sounds pretty major. Ooh. According to some German website, the Constitution contains 4 main injunctions. Now listen to this. I believe this is for diocesan parishes and priests, not necessarily the FSSP. So have that perspective as I read these 4 points. In no church, in no diocesan church, potentially, may the traditional Mass be celebrated exclusively. In no church, may the diocesan church, may the traditional Mass be celebrated every Sunday. That's major. The use of the traditional rite for sacraments and sacramentals is forbidden. Whoa, sacramentals. That's insane. because obviously the Latin rite is better, and so you're, yeah, I don't know, it's insane. Every priest is obliged to preside over the Novus Ordo. That would indicate the Chrism Mass. So that's this. I mean, so you can't have any exclusive Latin Mass churches. I'm assuming it's diocesan. I mean, that could be pretty problematic for FSSP and Institute. In no church may the traditional Mass be celebrated every Sunday. So do you have to move it to different churches every Sunday? The bishops won't do that. Maybe they will. Some of the good ones might alternate between churches if they really have to get around this garbage. So my thought is this is a possibility, and the implementation, basically the Traditionis Custodes is a lot of garbage. I mean, it's like, yes, it's hostile towards the Latin Mass, but it's not. It's a lot of canonists said it's not, like it was written very poorly. There's not a lot of consistency. There's not a lot of standard processes, and this is going to standardize the crackdown of the Latin Mass. And you got to figure out what you want to do. I've been talking about it for years now. I do believe the closest to a Reverent Novus Ordo is Father Heilman. There's a communion rail. He does ad orientem, only altar boys. Yeah, but Father Heilman, he still has lay women readers. If he was a real pope, the prayer vigil would actually be a way to get them to come to a 24-hour. Yeah. But the problem is, like, interfaith Christian stuff. Oh, I didn't spend a lot of time on this interfaith, Christian interfaith. So the Protestants who actually believe in the Bible, the ones who believe in the Bible, they won't show up to that, right? The Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon. That's what they say. So the real Protestants won't attend this. The fake communist Universalists will. So you might see some female rainbow Anglican bishops who have a wife show up to those. I bet. I mean, you're probably going to get a lot of those hippie, like shaman wannabe Protestants. I mean, someone who claims to be like Methodist but is really just a pagan, or like the eco worshippers. I just can't see any serious Christian attending this. Ecumenical, that means Pachamama worshippers. Well, yeah, but it's Christians. That's the thing. Are you going to have Pachamama? Oh, wait. Pachamama worshippers are Christians, right? It was Our Lady of the Amazon, people. Come on. It wasn't Pachamama. I'm not getting your notifications. Try clicking on the bell and clicking off, clicking on. I don't know. No, I saw a female lector. No, I saw a female lector at Father Heilman's, one of his masses. Really, you shouldn't have lay people reading. I mean, it's the Novus Ordo rite, though. You have to go with the flow. You know, get with the times. Get out your guitar. Put on, what do they wear? Those peace symbol necklaces. Wear your John Lennon glasses. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm tired of talking about this possibility of new restrictions, but it's I mean, we just need a new pope. We do. Father Heilman needs to be spoken to. Well, I can't speak to him. I think he interviewed Father Ripperger. I was a little bit surprised, but that's good. That's really good. Hopefully Yeah, yeah. Hopefully something good comes. Like hopefully a lot of people watch that, and because Father Heilman is a little bit more mainstream. He did like a rosary. What does he do? Like was it like a 60-day rosary novena or something? Oh, that's not really a novena, is it? but but a lot of people really jumped on board with that. And if he's getting some trad speakers or guests on his channel, that's good. I think his bishop. I'm pretty sure his bishop like told him to tone it down a little bit after he was talking about the January 6th people and supporting them. His bishop didn't like that. I don't know. Pathetic. Even like the decent bishops aren't really decent. Maybe we can get Doug Barry to talk to him. They do a video thing. Well, if you can reach out to him, do it. And that's the thing. I want to have a video at some point about grifters because every time I get on Twitter, everyone's like insulting everyone else and everyone's like trying to differentiate themselves on this channel. Like, oh, Benedict was really Pope, and he's not, and so I'm a sedevacantist, and none of the cardinals. No, that's Patrick Coffin. None of the cardinals uh, in the Francis era are valid. Like, no, you're really wrong. Benedict blessed the cardinals, every class of cardinals. So you're really wrong. And then Vorus, SSPX or schismatics. You're in contradiction with Pope Francis. Not even Pope Francis says the SSPX are schismatics. It's just pathetic. All these people all these media outlets. I guess really it's about when it comes down to it, and during the McCarrick scandals, they were getting lots of views, lots of donations, and they were breaking a few stories. Ooh, this person, we found out this new bishop was associated with McCarrick, but now there's not a lot of stories. I mean, it's really a lot of politics, right? I don't watch Church Militant. I don't follow Church Militant. I'd imagine they do a lot of politics. LifeSite News, a lot of political stuff. It's not a lot of Catholic stuff. I like to focus not on the political stuff. I mean, look, if the current resident of the White House who pretends to be Catholic, if he goes, sacrilegious communion, that's a story. If Cardinal Tobin says he would vote for Biden, that's a story. But I don't focus on politics. I focus on the church stuff, which is every bit as negative, even more negative than that. But I stay out of politics. That's not an interest to me. And it's not the trad wars. It's not. It's conservative media outlets fighting trad media outlets and trying to differentiate themselves. I'm not really into that. LifeSite News does have Catholic stuff. Yeah, they do. They do. I use some of I browse their headlines and try to find some stuff. They're sensationalist. I'll admit it. Like, I do use a lot of LifeSite's articles, but some of their articles are very sensationalist. Like, oh, clickbait headlines. And so, they run a business. They need to get viewers. They need to get subscribers. Yeah. Yeah, Faith and Reason, Father Altman's on there. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. He needs viewers as well. Kennedy Hall did a video recently on grifters. Yeah, it was pretty good. I agreed with it for the most part. And then he said his employer, LifeSite News, was really good. And I was like, well, you're not paid to say that, but they're they're depositing your paycheck into your bank account. I'm on pace this month to make $3 total on this YouTube channel. There you go. So, not that I'm better than anyone else. I mean, I certainly couldn't teach the new St. Thomas Institute that Taylor Marshall does. I couldn't teach you that. But I can talk about this news. I don't post these articles. I don't write these articles. So that's one thing. Canon 212, Frank Walker at Canon 212, he compiles a list better than this every day. And George Neumeier is in Africa right now, looking at how the Francis Church is decimated. I think, is he in Ivory Coast? Yeah, I believe so. Looking at how it has been decimated and how Vatican II has ravaged the potential of that particular region. Africa is said to be this blossoming, this blossoming continent of Catholicism, but in reality, the Protestant sects have taken many people from many people from the Catholic faith, and their cathedrals are ugly and modern. Their churches are modern. They do have big cathedrals. I mean, there are a few big cathedrals that he has posted pictures of, and it's like, oh, it's big and there's no one here. So it kind of destroys the narrative that Africa is a thriving Catholic place. George Neumeier's doing some good work. He's finally out of his I don't know, hiatus. Is that what you'd call it? Took a hiatus there for a while, but now he's back at it, and good to see. Doing some investigative research. I'm glad that he's on the case. He also needs money, but that's what he does full time. I don't go to knock on Bishop's doors. He does. That's the difference, right? So, okay. Well, that's what I have for you today. And I've been reading a lot of great books. I posted a few book reviews recently, and I have another one coming up. I'm really excited to share these books with you. And not a lot of people watch those videos. That's okay. To each their own. But I'm still going to post them because these Catholic books are amazing. Anything written before 1950 usually is pretty solid. And these are written, hundreds of years ago. It's great. It's fantastic. And I have several more. I just went to Goodwill. This is great. I go to these secondhand stores, and sometimes I find some stuff. Anytime I see something like tan books, I'm like, oh, I need that. And it's $1. You can't find that. You have to pay like $3 or $4 for shipping if you buy something online. So right there, I'm already saving that kind of money. I found Devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. That book is $1, and it looks like it was in pretty much new condition. So I'm really excited about that one. And it's just fun to go to these stores and try to find these, hidden gold mines. I don't know. I might browse some more secondhand stores and try to find the good stuff. Maybe I'll branch out a little bit and go to secondhand stores a little bit further away. That might be a show for the Catholic cheapskate. That might be another video where I talk about going to secondhand stores and looking for Catholic books, Catholic statues, which Catholic statues they're going to be pretty much scooped up pretty quickly by any Catholic, but the books, you can browse a little bit more because not everyone's going to find everything. And I also heard that there was a guy who went to antique stores and he found a bunch of relics at antique stores, which is really interesting. It might be worth your time. If you have free time and you're looking to do something, go to an antique store and look for relics. All right, this has turned into a really interesting like branch off of what I was initially talking about. So let's end it on a positive note. That'll be great. Let me know if you ever go to secondhand stores and if you found anything good at secondhand stores. Let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear your finds. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.